Well, welcome to Central Georgia Focus. I'm your host today, Kamilah Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. Right now, young Bibb County poets are preparing to show off their poetic skills in an amazing way with the annual Poetry Slam. High school students have a chance to get this win $15,000 toward any college of their choice. The annual Poetry Slam's contestants always passionately pouring out their poses on a powerful stage. The theme: social justice, silent no more. Here's a quick look at the 2024 winners.
Will I look back on my life and be happy? Why should I have to ask myself a question like that? I'm tired of having to tell myself I'm okay night after night because they would never take my pain seriously. There are things I've looked forward to my entire childhood that I fear can be stripped away at any given moment, and that ain't fair.
We tend to say their names, but we need to say our names and correct those who say them incorrectly. The names that aren't average, aren't seen often, aren't the easiest to pronounce. Say your name. Yessie or Yesenia, Key or Kiambria, D or Demarius, Trey or Tremarius, Nay or Nazarius. Say your name.
Y'all are tired of me coming up here having to throw shots, making some people feel hit. Well, I'm tired of having to come up here having to throw shots and having to live it. So if it takes making some of y'all uncomfortable to get my point across, I'm going to choose my people every time to protect what's ours. I'll start speaking about it when they stop killing us. Until then, I'll be up here screaming Black Lives Matter because knowledge is power. Thank you.
Wow, powerful poems from last year's top 3 senior winners, and we will hear more from some of the other contestant seniors a little later on. But first, guest for Central Georgia Focus this week, I'm here with Bibb County High School poet Jaden Jalingo and poet Yolanda Weil Lattimore, who was the founder of Poetic Peace Arts. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Jaden, tell me, what grade you in, where you go to school, and how did you get involved with the Poetry Slam?
So I am from Howard High School. I'm in 10th grade, and I got involved in Poetry Slam because, I feel like Howard High School is such an extracurricular based school, and I saw these contest flyers posted up around the hallways. And so, I'm very passionate about writing and poetry as a whole. And so seeing this, I knew I had to take my chance into joining it. So I joined Poetry Slam last year as a freshman, and unfortunately I didn't make it to the Grand Opera House last year, but this year I'm able to advance to the district. So yeah, really excited for that.
That is great. And that
Thank
goes
you.
hand in hand, being enjoy writing and then being a poet as well. So when you get to perform, you're going to be competing for $15,000 if you come in first place. The second place prize is $10,000, and the third place is $5,000. And when is this performance?
So I'm aware it's going to be on April 25th around 6 p.m. So yeah, I really hope everybody gets to show up. Yeah.
At the Douglas Theater.
Douglas
and he's
Theater.
not going for the big dollars this year because he's an underclassman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when does that start? So what grade does it start?
Seniors.
Yeah, senior year. So.
Oh, wow.
Only
Okay.
seniors can compete
Yeah.
for the big prizes, the first, second, and third prizes. But underclassmen, just to fill the show and make it exciting and to get them prepped up for the big day
big prize,
when they're a senior. Yeah.
Well, listen, you've got some time to prepare, so this is good.
Yeah.
You can get the good stuff. So, and Yolanda, tell me a little bit about yourself and why it is so important to, work with Poetry Slam.
Well, I've been a poet since 1991, probably before then because I was always talkative in class, But I founded a grassroots movement in 2003 here in Macon, where it was just I've always provided stages for artists, especially poets, but singers and thespians, and it's been a really great movement, and it helped me make a lot of friends, and as a poet, I just felt like I should consult the Griffith Family Foundation with their Poetry Slam. So I asked Mr. Benji Griffith, and he was like, oh yeah, just make it fun. It's good, it's great, but I want us to represent for Macon very well. I'm a poet, I'm passionate about my art, and I love to see these young people do their thing.
Yeah.
I mean, expressing ourselves is very important, and knowing how to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a theater kid myself and a thespian for 6 years, and I did professional shows. And what I love the most is the ability to express yourself on the stage, and everyone can see this powerful performance like we just saw from those 3 contestants. But for you, Jaden, you know, what excites you about the Poetry Slam, and why did you or want to participate?
So Poetry Slam, you know, I've always wanted to step out of my comfort zone with poetry. So I've written poetry through paper and through, you know, Google Documents. However, I've never really gotten that thrill of actually performing it. And so finding out about Poetry Slam through Howard, it's given me that opportunity to branch out and actually perform. And I've discovered my passion for slam poetry as well. And I guess that kind of segued into me being able to perform here at the Douglas Theater. So yeah, that's really, really exciting.
It's great. I love that. And Yolanda, how do you, you know, help the students turn their thoughts into this really great performance that they get on stage to do?
Well, first of all, you have to get to know them, and then, you know, you do that through how they're expressing themselves, and then you just try to help them fine tune it, and you let them practice on you. Like, so I'm just like a bonus coach. They have their coaches, which are usually their English teachers, and you know, teach them so they're knowledgeable. Like Jaden was just speaking about Poetry Slam. So Poetry Slam just versus reciting poetry or just being a poet. I'm not a heavy, I could slam if I wanted to, but slamming is totally different. You have these rules and regulations. Like Saul Williams was the founder of like urban poetry slams, and you know, the typical rules are your piece could be 3 minutes and you have a grace period of 10 seconds. It's a point system, so if you do that, you get points taken away. You can't have props, you know, like reading it or costumes or whatever, and those are the main 2, but it's like you can fine tune and change and customize your slam accordingly. And with the Griffith Family Foundation's Poetry Slam, the students have up to 4 minutes, a little bit longer, and you know, there's a rubric as well for the judges to be able to really, you know, make sure they pick the best student. And so the students practice, and they practice by having these creative poetry like settings in their libraries. They turn them into like a cafe. Some of them, they get real, the teachers get real creative, the coaches do. So yeah, this is my first year consulting the Griffith Family Foundation, so that was one of the things I wanted to see how the semifinals worked. I've attended some of the slams and they're very impressive, but we just nurture these students and, you know, what they're working with, and they're dynamic. They are.
Yeah. Wow. So how do you know, for you, when it comes to the passion, the strength, and the variety, how are you able to bring that on stage?
So to me, I personally think that poetry and passion are very intertwined. In order to create like a good poem, you need to have some sort of passion in place within it. And so you'll feel that passion when you witness these students performing, and that's what really makes, you know, slam poetry so powerful, because it's so vulnerable and raw. And I guess if you watch these students perform, that's gonna just light up the stage, you know? As a poet, you know, it's really important to be vulnerable, and it's really important to show your best self through your performance and your words. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch other students like me perform and express this theme in very different, unique takes.
Oh, I love that. Well, that is pretty amazing work that needs to be done. But I do know we need to take a break. And when we return, we will learn more about the passion and the mission behind Poetry Slam, learn about the founder, Benji Griffith, and meet some people behind the scenes. Stay with us. Well, welcome back, Central Georgia. We're talking about the Griffith Foundation's annual Poetry Slam, and Bibb County students are taking it to the stage in the name of poetic social justice. And with us today is Howard High School poet Jada Julingo and Yolanda Y.O. Lattimore, the founder of Poetic Arts. And the public is invited to support and enjoy this impressive student competition and watch the community judges make the hard decisions. You also get to hear the adult educators provide their thought-provoking poetic presentations with socially conscious rhymes and verses. And it all happens Friday, April 25th at the Douglas Theater starting at 7 p.m. Folks, this event is free and you can reserve a seat on Eventbrite. Parking is also free in the parking deck next to the Douglas. And philanthropist Benji Griffith is the founder of the Griffith Foundation and the visionary of this literary platform. And we spoke with family members and people who work with the Griffith Foundation and understand the mission of the Poetry Slam.
The founder of the Griffith Foundation is Mr. Benji Griffith. Benji was a college professor and an entrepreneur and has been a philanthropist in this city for about 30 years with his heart really geared toward education and social justice. And what he saw, he was the visionary of the Poetry Slam, and what he saw the Poetry Slam as was an opportunity for people who may not typically have a platform to share their voice, to have a platform to do that very thing through the use of poetry and just the artistic creativity that you can exercise in poetry. And number two, he also thought that not only was it important for people to be able to share their voice, but also for us to be able to hear what they have to say and understand the perception and the thoughts and the heart and the struggles or whatever the students have to say for the public to be able to hear them and gain an understanding firsthand, from the horse's mouth on what's in the hearts of the students in our school system. Surprised is a fair word for part of what I've experienced in attending the Poetry Slams. I've been impacted by what I've heard. These poems have depth and weight. These students, they get vulnerable in their poems and they share from their heart. And sometimes I can relate to what they're saying and I can kind of see through their eyes fairly easily. Other times I become aware of weight on them and feelings and perceptions that they have that I've never thought about before. And so there is definitely a wow factor, a surprise factor, and for me there has been in listening to some of the students' poems.
Stress kills.
It's unpredictable, and for me, the awareness is very present in the sense of you just never know what a student is dealing with until you hear their creative mind sort of paint the picture of what's happening. And with all of the students, there's a sense of empathy that they I wouldn't say ask for, but that they sort of present. Because like in social justice, which is the theme for the Poetry Slam, it's not just a black and white issue. We have some students who are dealing with gender issues where they are addressing, being objectified as a young woman in high school. We have some young men who feel stereotyped because of their hair. So just little things that the general public may not think of that these students have to navigate on a daily basis, and for them to have an outlet is something that is profoundly impactful for our community in our city.
Time to shine a light on all things black.
For me, what I've seen is that it has been consistently deep, and the students have been waiting for an opportunity to speak their piece about different things that we really don't give them a platform to speak on. So for them to have that opportunity curated by Mr. Benji Griffith is just it's something that our community needed. But it starts out deep. It stays deep, it ends deep. There are tears, there are claps, there are a wide range of emotions from what our students represent.
There are 2 competitions that go on within each school that yield the winners who will compete at the public competition, which this year will be at the Douglas Theater. There's an underclassmen competition, so those who are juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and then there's a competition just among seniors. And so we've seen several people who were in the competition as a sophomore or junior who returned the following year, and you could see their growth, their authenticity, their ability to communicate clearly, just their maturity as a person really developed, just in the performances from year to year.
Amazing God you are.
I also think part of the mission of the Poetry Slam is it's one thing to let your voice be heard, to make your voice known through social media, through outlets that exist in our current culture and in this climate. It's another thing for people in our community to do the work to create an opportunity saying, we want to hear your voice. It's not just that you are pushing your voice out, but we're trying to draw your voice out of you. We want to know, we want to hear. And that's a powerful piece of the Poetry Slam, even for those who are in attendance. The desire to hear, the desire to learn is a powerful element of why the Poetry Slam was created.
And one of the unique things about this poetry scholarship competition is that it is only open to seniors, correct?
Right.
Yes, but those in lower grades can still participate. They just can't go for the winning prize.
Correct.
Awesome. Good information to know. And Jaden, how do you feel about the fact that, Poetry Slam is open to all students, but it's still, there's something valuable about it as well?
I mean, I think that having this contest open to everybody, it gives you that sense of belonging, because poetry is a safe space. It's a way to express your thoughts and your feelings, and that sort of intimacy gives those students a sense that they want to be here. I feel like everybody deserves a voice, especially for an art like poetry, and being able to perform at a stage in front of your city and spreading awareness about something you're super passionate about. It's a really great sight to see, and as a student, as a poet as well, I'm really excited to see what everyone brings to the table. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and it helps with that self-development
yes,
as
definitely.
well. I love that. Well, listen, we do need to take a break, so make sure you stay with us to find out about the Poetry Slam and how you can get involved. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We have been talking about Poetry Slam 2025, made possible by Benji Griffith and the Griffith Foundation. And while it's too late for students to sign up for this year's event, it's not too late to prep for next year, so everyone wins. And students with the satisfaction of accomplishments, and the seniors actually, they can win money, including $15,000 first prize for a first place prize, $10,000 to the second place winner, and $5,000 for the third place winner. And the audience, they are also getting something too, a great performance. And among other sponsors for the Griffith Foundation's Poetry Slam include Alpha Kappa Alpha, Epsilon Omega Mega Chapter, and the Community and Schools of Central Georgia. And it will not be possible without the Bibb County Schools students. And remember, this is open to all students, and grades are not a factor, but if you are a senior, you can participate to win the cash prize. So let's turn the clock back to the Poetry Slam stage of 2024, and here are some of seniors' poems.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. A black man lived that. So why do we keep the lights turned off, the darkness spreading like a sickness? But what are we doing to cure this? If love is not enough, then have we shined enough light?
When schools were separate but not equal, you sent a 6-year-old Ruby to lead the way. When Jim Crow was the standard, you gave us one man with a dream. And you not only allowed us to march on Washington, but you allowed us to run it from the big house, from the slave house to the White House, from the bottom to the top. What an amazing God you are.
Our mindset has been enslaved into thinking that men, or should I say, black men, don't cry. Growing up, I thought this was the black man's national anthem because that's all you hear is they wipe their eyes, transforming from boys to men. Chin up, chest out, stand up straight, firm handshake. To be a man, this is what it takes. And I don't care how hard it gets. Remember, men don't cry, never question it, never ask why.
Pretty on the outside, but hurt within. Always stand up for the crowd, but always try to fit in. Got losers telling pretty lies. That's where deception begins. Treat people how she treats herself, but get backed out by her friends. You think you are that. That's how she's supposed to feel. Shot down by depression. Don't you know stress kills?
Now let's recap the time and date of the 2025 Poetry Slam. It happens Friday, April 25th at the Douglas Theater starting at 7 p.m. and the event is free. Reserve your seat on Eventbrite. Parking is also free in the parking deck next to the Douglas Theater. And do you guys have any final thoughts? Anything people should know about what you're doing, what you're working on, and what's ahead?
For me, I feel like I want to tell everybody watching this, show up because it's going to be such a beautiful performance. We're not just students, but we're also poets. And having those people come together and deliver a performance full of vulnerability, rawness, intimacy, and just that beautiful, beautiful display of human emotion. It's going to be one of a kind. And, I'm so excited to be able to do this. And yeah, so that's really excited to see what everyone brings to the table.
And Jaden keeps saying vulnerable, but when I witnessed their semifinals at the schools, the backgrounds of some of the students, they were making me write notes where I could do some research on some things because, to say for instance, one young lady was from Vietnam. Her parents were from Vietnam and they moved here in '79, but she took us through a journey, with her having to find her identity and still hold on to her culture. So it will be an experience. And this is National Poetry Month. April is National Poetry Month. Oh. So even prior to that, Saturday, a week prior to that, Poetic Peace Arts is hosting an event where we want Macon, Georgia to put the guns down, and it's power in words as well as change in action. So Poetic Peace has just united a lot of organizations and individuals who are doing things to make change. And we'll have speakers and presentations, a panel discussion, and a poetry circle, which some of the students will be a part of. And I'm excited, we'll have some old heads like me, but that youth, just to see that, it gives hope, and it goes way deeper than just reciting poetry. You're getting into boardrooms. You learn how to communicate with your everyday people and become advocates for them. You learn how to be more of a civic citizen. There's a lot that when you start learning how to express yourself, it takes you a long way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Thank you both so much for joining us. And don't worry, we will give you all this information on our website, 13wmaz.com. But that'll do it for us. Thank you for watching Central Georgia Focus.